like a popularity contest. Even in the unranked section, they're still a bit lacking in the 10K department. So, one way to supplement this issue is Keycom conversion. In Soundsphere, there's many different sequential mods that you can apply to maps that adds and changes up the notes to be more suitable for different key counts. In this video, I will be going over some of the best mod combinations for converting maps into 10K, as well as providing a brief explanation of what they do. Also, make sure you watch all the way through, as a lot of these methods can apply when converting to different number key counts. This mod will be used in every conversion, unless you're converting to a whole number multiple. Basically, it takes the existing map and arranges the nodes across all lanes while maintaining the original map structure. This does not add more nodes when converting upwards, but it does remove some nodes while converting down. It's usually not recommended to convert from 4K with this mod alone, as the maps do not provide a great amount of dexterity, but I still think it has its use cases. For index maps like these, or even some more traditional jump streams, it can be a great way to practice higher speeds and finger movement that you normally wouldn't have access to, as these maps increase the difficulty of finger control and speed, but not so much reading and dexterity. Jump stream and hand stream charts can also be playable as well, though I would avoid only converting these types of maps as the dexterity component of practice is more important in 10K. 5K maps are pretty decent, though they can feel slightly empty since it's half of 10, so you wouldn't be seeing the most complex patterns here. Anything from 6K and up feels pretty good to convert from, as the patterns usually provide a general amount of variation with column usage. You will see instances like this though, where the original map had a simple staircase, it's now broken up between the columns. This can provide a greater challenge to finger control, but usually I just roll all my fingers anyway. It's also important to note that 7K plus 1 maps will essentially become 9K plus 1, as the conversion will basically leave the scratch lane untouched. Multiple play and multi-overplay are two mods that let you multiply the playfield from 2 to 4. So for instance, if you're playing a 4K map and have the mod multiple play 3 selected, you're now essentially playing that map duplicated 3 times, so 12 key. Multi-overplay multiplies each individual column, while multiple play multiplies the entire playfield. Because of this, I would avoid using multi-overplay alone, as there will be no brackets or complex chords, and you can risk inflating the map's difficulty. Using this mod combination allows you to play easier difficulties with added density. It's a great way to get into 10K jump stream practice. You'll want to stay with lower difficulty maps, as the double density can drastically increase the difficulty the higher you go. There is a major issue though. All the maps will basically be mirrored, so you're playing the same inverted pattern on the opposite hand. This isn't too bad, but I can imagine wanting a bit more variation. You can add random to this mod combination, but scores won't save correctly as each time you enter the map it's completely different. So if you do use this combination, just be aware of the fact that you won't be able to compare scores well. For multiple play 3, this would be useful for getting into some serious 10K hand stream or chord practice, but again, the difficulty will be your limiting factor. Easier pad charts like this are great because they already have low density, so most of the chords will be 3 notes with some 6-note chords occasionally thrown in, depending on the difficulty. Harder index charts have similar structure but at a vastly greater speed. These could be playable if you're willing to downrate them. A lot of these I have to play on 0.5 or 0.6 rate as they just don't have this ability yet. More general keyboard maps are playable, but again it depends on the difficulty and you may have to downrate harder maps. I would avoid using this mod combination with anything above 5K, as the density as it is high. The good thing about multiple play 3 is that the charts don't have that mirror effect that 2 does, so you won't have to use any random mod with this, as the maps provide variation between both hands. I wouldn't recommend using multiple play 4, as there's probably better ways to practice dense maps, plus this mod has the same mirroring issue with 2, so I would avoid it altogether. Alternate and Alternate 2 are 2 more mods that allow for higher key counts, but it does it a bit differently. Essentially, it takes any repeated notes, or jacks, and alternates them between the different columns. This allows for lower key maps to have greater dexterity when converting, but at the cost of the original map structure. Let's use this chart for example. Cynthia's theme gets the bulk of its difficulty from the jacks, so having them be alternated instead lowers the difficulty rating. This isn't always the case, as other maps with this mod might have the same or higher rating. You can see how the original chart is more linear, or uses the same columns for multiple notes in a row, while the alternate one is more wider and includes a more varied finger usage. Now if you're playing a map because there's a cool pattern usage with jacks or jump trills, you will lose out on that with this mod combination. However, I don't always think that's a bad thing. Take a look at this other chart. Fake Promise is a very linear jump stream style chart. Converting it to 10K, you can easily see how much empty space there is with some of these patterns, and some keys not being used for long sequences. With Alternate, the map seems much more fuller, and notes frequently appear on each key. You do lose out on that repetitious jack pattern that I was going for when I create this map, but honestly the later half of this map deals with repetitious patterns very nicely. So honestly, I think this mod combination is overall fantastic to use for higher dense 4K and 5K maps. Anything higher than 6K feels unnecessary for this mod combination. As mentioned earlier, there's Alternate 2, and this one limits the jack to 2 notes. I think, before alternating into different lanes. And well, you can judge the results yourself. Honestly, I think it tries to be a nice middle ground of maintaining the original map's intent, while also providing more dexterity and complexity, but it kind of falls short in both categories and just ends up feeling awkward to play, as the alternation can happen in the middle of a jack pattern that was intended to be consistent. Lastly, I want to point out these two mod combinations. Both of these are great for doubling the amount of density on easier maps while having a good amount of variation between the two hands. As mentioned previously, alternate removes any original linear structure, while auto maps keeps the general structure, but this combination in particular can lead to some parts of the map feeling repetitive and not quite hitting all columns as often. I will briefly go over all mod combinations mentioned and let you know what's best for which maps. Use these mods for finger control and speed practice on 4K maps, and general conversions from 6K and up. Use these for a quick way to double a playfield of 4K and 5K maps. Use these if you want a bit more variation and don't care about comparing your old scores. Use these for increased density on lower key counts while also having a good amount of variation. You might also need to downrate these. You should probably avoid using this one. Great for dense 4K and 5K maps that you want to have a more 10K feel. Great if you want to maintain some aspects of the original map. Use this if you want to double the map's density while also maintaining the general structure. Comes at the cost of repetition, works better with low density maps. Use this if you want to double the map's density, but for it to play like a more traditional 10K map. Comes at the cost of the original map structure. That's all the mod combinations I wanted to mention in this video. There is the full LN mod, as it does change how the map is played in different key counts, but I think I want to make a separate video for practicing LNs and soundsphere. The good thing about sequential mods is that they can be used in any order, and it allows for a great amount of flexibility when it comes to modifying maps. So try out these combinations presented in this video, or even experiment with your own.